Thanks for listening to the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast, where each week we talk about a free piece or two of technology that you can use in your classroom. I'm your host, Shanna Martin. I'm a middle school teacher, technology, and instructional coach for my district.
And I'm her producer and husband, Fuzz Martin. And you may not know this, but we formed a relationship because she decided I was her type and then jotted down my number.
Good job. That's a good one.
Thank you. That one came real quick.
Nice work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Not that anybody else knows what you're talking about yet, but we're good.
I mean, if they read the episode title,
that's true.
They may understand
your cleverness today.
Yeah.
So here we are, marching through November. How is it already November?
I don't know, but
I'm still in August.
Yeah. Well, guess what?
The weather's not, but I am.
You got to catch up.
Oh my gosh, we've been so busy.
Yeah, we were all over the place, and now we're back. I mean,
with a brand new invention.
To you listening, it doesn't sound like we're gone because technology.
But we're here.
Yeah, we are.
It's Q2.
It is.
Quarter.
It is the second quarter.
The second quarter of the school year. For us, my elementary teachers work on trimesters, so they're still finishing up trimester 1. Parent-teacher conferences are rocking. So many things are happening.
Going on, yeah.
And this week we have 2 tools that we have discussed. They're like rivals.
They are.
But they work similar.
Head to head. Who will win?
But they work similarly. And depending on the needs of your students or classroom, you can kind of figure out which best free version works for you.
Yeah.
Because they each have a paid version and they each have a free version. But their free versions are slightly different.
Yes.
So depending on what you're going to use it for, or your students are going to use it for, then you can make the choice, but they work pretty similar. We are talking about Typeform and Jotform today.
Okay.
And so a couple weeks ago, my students started cranking out projects. It's project time in my classroom. And my students do a lot of inquiry projects, and they come up with different ways of sharing their knowledge with their classmates. And I give them a variety of things to pick from. And one of my students is like, I'm going to do a digital game, but I don't want to do Kahoot. I don't want to do Look It. I don't want to do, he went through all the things that everybody else does, and he wanted to be different. And I was like, that's cool. So we Googled it because that's the thing to do. Anyway, so we came across Typeform, which is a really cool site. So it has like free options and it has lots of paid options. But basically Typeform, if you wanted to like jazz up Google Forms and make them way cooler and more fun, that's what Typeform is. So there are like pre-created templates if you choose to, or you can go into the land of starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Designing, you can pick and choose. And so you can start from scratch. You can use a template. You can have them create it for you, which I won't let my students do. You have to make it yourself.
Yeah.
And so they can pick a topic or a format. So we're doing quizzing. Like there's lots of other types of formats you can pick from. And so when you go to create your Typeform, let's say I want to use a template, there's like feedback forms and research forms and registration forms and application forms and polls and giveaways and requests. So there's a lot of different ways you can use this. I'm using it as students sharing out information from a project. But if you are teaching a business class, like go for it. If you're teaching any sort of government class where they're polling for information or argument writing, like they can use the polls. Like registration, like teaching them how to just different skill sets, application skill sets. There's just so many ways you can use this in other sites besides just creating quizzes. But that's what we happen to use it for. So that's my example that I'm talking about. But there's a lot of options that you can do. So to create a quiz, though, you can pick a template. There's literally a math quiz template for anybody that wants to test out, just to play around with it. And it's super cool. It gives you the questions when you work from the template. It gives you I love the what's your name, because then it drops the person's name into every question.
Oh.
So then it feels personalized, even though it's not.
Right.
And you can do that with a Google, in Google Sheets, you can play around with where things drop from each sheet to sheet. You can do some
sure,
stuff
yeah,
like that, but it's not like type it in, there it goes, it shows up for you and everything. Like this is the formula's done for you. So it's just cool looking. So they had the name thing in there, so everyone felt like, oh, it's my name when I answer the questions. And then the questions are there. It gives you the little bubbles to put the answers in. And so you can just work your way through the template, changing the questions, keeping the questions. It gives you multiple choice answers. You can add choices in there if you choose to. And you can change the settings in there so you can make them required. You can give them multiple selections. You can give different alignments. You can add video. You can add images. And then 2, you can choose if you want it to slide from one question to the next question. So you answer it, it automatically scrolls up to the next one.
Yeah.
You don't have to do any pages or anything. It's just kind of, it makes it like a cool little interactive thing. So it's a way of making a form
interactive and more like visually
engaging,
appearing.
like way more engaging than filling a Google form. Because you feel like you're like, hey, Shanna, like, are you ready to answer questions today? All right. You got this one. Great. Like, it just feels different. So when my students are doing a project, it feels like there's more to it than just putting a Google form. And I had kids use Google Forms and crank out some amazing escape rooms. Like, there's a time and place for sure.
Sure.
But to make a cool looking interactive kind of game that's not like all the others, they were making quizzes here on Typeform.
Sure.
And there's a gallery, so you can have like questions and gallery questions. I'm distracted. Design you can go into then, so you can have like your brand kit if you want to upgrade to have the fancy plan. But you can choose colors and backgrounds and things like that. Some adjustments, not as many when you're not using when you're using the free version, but you can choose like, I want everything in shades of green.
Right.
I want everything in shades of orange and yellow. Like, you have options. I want shades in blue with cool, like, graphic-y designs in the background. Oh, wait, that's the more expensive one. So you can pick and choose from the free version of what colors you want, which is kind of fun. But anyway, so this just felt a lot more engaging. And then also, if you are working on like the right-hand side of the screen, they give you this logic portion where it shows you like this question can go this way or this way. And then how do you how do you visually see the layout of everything?
Right.
Which I appreciate.
The other cool thing like you could do with that logic is you could have students create a choose your own adventure story. So with the logic, if they select one choice, it goes to one next question. And if they
almost like a digital escape room.
Yeah, exactly.
Or choose your own adventure. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
So, and they also allow for things like ranking and an opinion scale in the free version. So if you want, rank these top things, and you can slide stuff around, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So there's a lot of options, and it's just kind of a nice way for kids to be able to create another way of looking at something. To share their information out with others. Now, I will say, in the setting that we were using it in, so in the free version of Typeform, you can have like 10 responses. You can have you can create as many of these as you want to, but you only can have 10 responses like locked in at the end.
Yeah.
But how we were doing it is the student was having like projecting it, and then you can just have like everybody like as a group like decide what the response is going to be.
Sure.
So then it didn't matter to us that we weren't all responding individually, because we were just responding as a class.
Yeah.
So that's just something to be aware of. Like, you wouldn't necessarily want like to send this out to your students on the free version, because you would only get 10 responses. So that's something to be aware of how the free version of this works.
Yes, for this one.
That's why we're pointing this out. So for Typeform, there's lots of cool options with it, but you probably would want to do a whole class response kind of deal, or small group response deal, instead of having individual responses.
Right. So Typeform, unlimited forms.
Correct. But only 10 responses each.
And then Jotform.
So let's jump to the competitor and tell you the highlights there. So they also have lots of templates to choose from. I appreciate too, their template formats are a little bit different. So you can do feedback, like information requests. I thought it was kind of cool that it was like a product order form. Because wouldn't it be so cool if you're having students do a mock business?
Yeah.
To create their own online store.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That'd be great
and
for a business
learn
class.
how to set that up.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you've taught me a lot about setting stuff like that up.
Yeah.
And that would be a way to like practice. Like those are skills that people need.
Right.
Especially if you're going into business nowadays. But anyway. So there's order forms. So you pick a template, whatever you choose as you want. They even have table reservations.
Nice.
And so ordering forms, booking forms, RSVP forms, sign-up forms, voting forms, polls, all kinds of stuff. Pick your form, whatever you want to do. A cajillion templates. Again, pick a template. Now, if I want to use a template in Jotform, it will come up similarly where you can build and have settings and add logos and change font. The setup's a little bit different, but you can add different content. You can change your settings, your thank you page, like different things like that. If you go to publish, it does share the same. They both have the copy link to be able to share, and then other things like social media, QR codes. But you can copy a link and share it. So the free version of Jotform is going to be slightly different. So while you have all like the designer templatey things, then you get 5 forms a month, but you can have 100 submissions monthly.
Yeah, 5 total forms, and you get 100 monthly submissions.
So that way, so if you wanted a whole class to fill in a form, or you wanted like some like more interaction, you could do that.
But like if you think about it, so in this case, kids could create their form and have everybody in the class fill it out.
Fill it in. Right.
But they're likely not going to create more than one form for that project.
Correct.
Right? So
that's why I'm thinking projects type work. Like if you're going to do forms, then Google Forms is always the way to go just because you're collecting information. Like as a teacher, I'm thinking though, a kid having some real world project application experience where they're using templates that you would not do in Google and then share out information that way.
Right.
Or design, a business plan, or like for me, they're sharing out information about Wisconsin, so it's different using it in a project format. So that's what I'm thinking. So depending on what you want your kids to do. So if they just want to create the form and do it as a whole class, I would use Typeform. But if they're going to do a form and create something cool and want the whole class to participate, then I would go with Jotform. And those would be the difference.
Between the two. I would almost think too.
And the formatting is different. I will say that they're not light years away from each other, but there are differences. So you would definitely want the student to kind of look through and see what would work best for their piece of information. Yeah,
Typeform I think is prettier in most cases, and like in the way that it works. Though Jotform has more templates. So
correct. Yeah.
And but they're both very cool.
They both teach a lot of, to me, like some life skills stuff along with sharing information for projects for school.
Yeah, there's a lot of more.
Definitely middle school, high school when we're looking at these for just ease of understanding how they work.
And I would say Jotform is more of that like web building type of, I'd say Typeform is more like presentation style.
Yep.
Jotform is more like web building. That's the one that has the product pages, and you can actually even create apps, and there's a whole bunch of other templates that they have, table templates and
PDF templates.
Yeah. So those kind of things that are not in Typeform. But so again, play with them both. You could do it for free. So get in there and play around yourself and see what would work best in your class.
Yep. Or give it to a kid because you don't necessarily have time. And there are kids that love to play around with things and then report out on what they discover.
There you go.
So there's that too. But yeah, so Typeform, Jotform, creating cool forms for projects with students, sharing out information, 2 different ways. Just because depending on what you want to use it for, the free versions can benefit you in 2 different ways.
Yeah.
So there you go. So thanks for tuning in. This has been the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast. If you ever have any questions, you can find me on Twitter @SmartNWI. And if you want to get more information on the links to the technology discussed in this episode, visit smartnwi.com or find me on Facebook. If you'd like to support the show, please consider buying me a coffee or 2. Visit buymeacoffee.com/smartnwi or visit smartnwi.com and click the cute little purple coffee cup. Your donations help keep this show going. New episodes each week. Thanks for listening. Go educate and innovate.
The ideas and opinions expressed on this podcast and the Smart NWI website are those of the author, Shanna Martin, and not of her employer. Prior to using any of the technologies discussed on this podcast, please consult with your employer regulations. This podcast offers no guarantee that these tools will work for you as described, but we sure hope they do.